Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Sync Sessions live. I'm super excited to have another episode of this and be talking with Catherine Vincent today. She has an amazing business with holistic education, yoga, meditation, bringing in all of the intuitive energy and all of that good. So I'll let her introduce herself and tell everybody a little bit about her and her business.
Sure. So I'm from Toronto and I moved to Vietnam in November 2024 on 11/11, actually.
Yay.
And I will be in Vietnam for a year, and it's been great for my nervous system. And here I've been deepening my intuitive energy healing offerings. I'm still doing the holistic education and I'm still doing yoga and meditation, but this is really the concentration. And being here is also allowing me to more deeply pursue energy healing studies. I took two medical intuitive mentorships around January to April of this year. So that was super fun. And I'm looking forward to talking about that synergy when, intuitives get together and releasing and activations happen. And it's just giving me the opportunity to deeply rest and regulate my nervous system, connect to my divine feminine, balance divine feminine and divine masculine, and just pursue other studies too. I'll be pursuing my master's in counseling psychology in September. I was on a leave of absence because I was at another grad school studying counseling and expressive arts therapy. Too expensive, American grad school. And so now I'm going to start fresh with just counseling psychology at a Canadian grad school. And I'm super excited. And it's because I made that big move that I'm able to balance the finances there. So that's what's
Yeah.
been going on for me.
Amazing. I love how you're blending all of those different pieces together. And I love how you touched on, first off, like the shift in energy of just moving from the place that you were at into like a completely new energy just from shifting your location, which I love. And that kind of sometimes, like you said, it activates and just opens up so much of that energy. And then where you touched on as far as just intuitive people coming together as far as an energy, I love that as well. I am in the process of, I just kind of soft launched my membership program because I see that is so powerful, especially when women come together, intuitive women, and we just sit in circle and we have that ecosystem where we're connecting and feeding off of one another. There's just
Yeah.
something so magical about it when you are in a room.
Yeah.
And I feel like having that mirror and incorporating that is so powerful.
That's amazing. So is yours in person or global?
I have a local co-working group, but the majority of my membership is global. I have some friends from Canada as well. I've
Cool.
connected with people globally, so I think that's one of the great things about technology, right? Like you're in Vietnam right now, I'm in the States, and we can have this amazing conversation, and I love that expansion. There's something unique
Magical.
though.
Yes.
Do you prefer in person? Do you think the energy is different in person via versus via like a Zoom call?
It is, and there are pros and cons to both. I think if you're still let's say not empowered, not completely empowered to just shine brightly, then being online might be helpful, but it might not be. It just depends on your relationship with Zoom and with online meetings, but also your relationship with society and your social skills and your previous experiences with small and large groups. So yeah, it's to me it's a case by case basis. And it can be a group where everyone makes you feel safe, or it can be a
Mm.
group where not many make you feel safe. So it just depends on the leadership there, who are they? How are they doing? What is this container they're making? How are they making you feel safe? Like, can they make themselves feel safe? So it's just, there's often a lot of toxicity and, it can be unconscious in all of us.
Yeah,
We're all works in
exactly.
progress.
Yeah, and that's the thing where I think it is helpful to have mirrors, but you're right. Like you need to have that safe space. That's been always been my goal is to create like a sacred container where you can be the most authentic version of you and then also see where how can I improve or how can I shift what I'm doing to be more in alignment. But ultimately, I mean, it comes back to you wanting to do the work or you being in alignment with yourself in order to make that lasting change. So I love that you touch on that and create that. So with your work, do you typically do more one-to-one? Do you enjoy more group work, where you have like a group of people coming together?
Well, in Toronto, and I feel so grateful for this, I had the chance to teach yoga and meditation in yoga studios, but also like doing park yoga, and I was helping out with the CIBC Run for the Cure, like it was for breast cancer awareness. So I did a bunch of different things in Toronto, and I haven't had those opportunities here, which is fine. I've had different opportunities. So yes, I did a lot of that energy healing, even for corporate spaces. I did it for Scotiabank, where I would just teach a yoga session, and then during the more restorative yin portions, I would go around and offer hands-on energy healing. You could think about Reiki. I think it's just more mainstream for people to think about Reiki. They
Yeah.
either have had it or they know someone who's had it, and so just think of that hands-on, and the healers is channeling from the divine. It's going through
Yeah.
their hands, through their eyes, through their intention to the recipient. So I did a lot of that. But in Nha Trang and Da Nang in Vietnam, it's been more markets, just offering my services at markets and having tourists find me on Google Maps, and then just having a nice beach session with me one on one, or coming to one of my small group beach sessions in Nha Trang, for example.
Amazing. I love that you blend that. And I think it's great to have the offerings where it is the one-to-one and you have the healing, but then you also have the option of doing the group. It's a totally different dynamic, but I mean, it again, it just depends on the person. And then I'm so intrigued too. You mentioned intuitive medicine. I'd love to
Yeah,
learn a little bit more about what that is and what that looks like, from your perspective.
for sure. Yeah, so medical intuition is just it's a fancy phrase that is mainstream the way Reiki is. I know Reiki has a lot of traditions associated with it, and so I don't mean to diminish it. But what I mean by medical intuition being like just a fancy phrase is like it's a synonym for energy healing. It's just a synonym for intuitive energy healing. And so, yes, it means that people can sense stuck energies that have to do with physical, mental, or emotional imbalances.
Mhm.
And that can be sensed in different ways depending on your gift. So you might have some people call it clear empathy or just an empath ability where you have a gift so that you know what it feels like to be the other person in some way, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You just are them. Like you can feel that or think that or know that. It just depends on the gift, right? There's so many variations of being an empath. And I think those listening who hear what I'm saying will probably know deep down what kind of empath they are, because they will have had these beautiful, beautiful, well, not always, but when it's crystals or flowers, for example, yeah, it's a beautiful experience of that sense of the other, right? But if it's someone having a difficult time, if it's a very difficult person in that moment, then that can be, terrifying. It can just be painful. So there's a range of experiences there. But yeah, so it's about the clairs. So do you have clair cognizance, which is a sense of clear knowing, where you just know something. It's not like logic and intuition is really even telling you. It's just the thing. And you're not supposed to know it. There's
Yep.
also clairsentience, which is just feeling perhaps other people's stuck energies, whatever they may be, and knowing it and feeling it, perhaps in your body,
Mhm.
perhaps in your emotions. It just depends, maybe in your thoughts. And then there's also clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. So some people can see auras, eyes open. They can see other things, and others, when they close their eyes, they can see things as well. And so I've been able to see sacred geometries while closing my eyes during energy healing sessions. And the sacred geometries change as the person is experiencing the healing. So it's really cool. And that came about during one of my medical intuitive internships, as I mentioned too. So there's that sense of synergy when you have a bunch of, well-meaning, sensitive intuitives coming together. Stuff happens. It's really cool. And so things were unlocked for me, and they continue to be, when I get together with
Yeah.
with intention and with other healers. So yeah, it's been awesome. There's some examples. I don't want to go on and on. I hope that makes sense when I say
It
meditative,
totally makes.
intuitive, just energy healer, energy channeler.
I love that
And
though.
some can see like
Sorry.
some can. And I've glimpses, I've had glimpses into that X-ray kind of experience. I had an X-ray like vision of my own neck, so and the bones. So I would say you never know what will emerge, what will deepen.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I love all of that. Like there's my mind is going so many different places hearing all of those things and just tapping in. And I think one of the things that you mentioned is like being able to feel it in your body. And I think remembering that your body remembers. And for me, a part of my journey was reconnecting with my body. That's how my intuition kind of really came into play. And I started to understand that connection after suffering through
Uh-huh.
phase three adrenal fatigue. But yeah, so for me, the first part of me reconnecting with my gifts are kind of understanding that I was an empath, well, was actually experiencing adrenal.
Awesome.
So I went through a time where
Oh,
I
that
was
was connected.
yeah. So I was doing
Oh,
wedding
that makes
planning
sense.
and didn't realize that I was an
Oh,
empath. So
cool.
I wasn't doing the energetic clearing or anything like that. So I was taking
No, no.
on all of these people's energies and the stress. And I think that a lot of times if you don't understand the energetics or the connectivity or what's yours and what's not yours, your body retains all of that. And if you're not clearing it and you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
having those grounding practices, it can lead into sicknesses and and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So that was a part of my journey that I had that
Yeah.
fatigue, my hormones went postmenopausal. But as I healed
Mm-hmm.
that and holistically, I healed my body first, and then I started to understand the energetic components to it and how can I release those
Mm-hmm.
different things. And it's just made
Yeah.
such a massive difference. So I guess one of my questions would be too is how, from your perspective, or how can you give any advice to women who might be experiencing some of those things or they're learning that they have these different empathic gifts? How can they determine what's their energy versus what other people's energy is like being held into their body?
They can check in with their higher self or with another divine guide, like if they believe in source, they can check in with source. Otherwise, they could just check in with their higher self. I mean, everyone has a very best self, a wise guide. Um, so they can just ask, hey, is this mine higher self? And try to find some discernment there. But what they can also do is just ask for higher self to take it or for source to just remove it. They can just ask, hey, can you take this away? Can you release it? Can you clear this, please? If it's not mine, can you clear all that is not mine, please? And you can make it your own. You can imagine a violet flame, engulfing your body and just transmuting, purifying, clarifying all distortions, right? All energy that is not yours. And you can imagine the energy then going into roots, deep into the center of the earth, if you like. Or maybe even if you want to get playful, you can imagine ashes coming down and they're just being vacuumed away or swept away.
I love that. I love the visuals that you have because I know for me, like I'm always very visual and I can retain things better if I do have that visual. So that's beautiful of just like it being swept away. And I think the first step is probably just being aware that, there are other energies around us. You can feel if somebody is angry or there's just been an
For
argument.
sure.
You can feel all of that. So just
Yeah.
remembering that. And I think too, another point is like we are in control of our destiny. So like you said, if it's like, I don't want to feel this anymore, you can decide that that's not what you want to feel. And then just ask for the clearing of that or kind of work towards what that looks like.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely making sure because now a void has been created. Let's say you did remove the stuck energies, there's now a vacuum, so you need to fill the void, or else you might draw more of the same. So just make sure you're filling the void. You can ask Source or your higher self to just add a waterfall of bright light or a rainbow, whatever you want, as long as it's just some healing energy to just fill the void so that you're whole
Yeah.
again.
I love that. And that is a great point too, that sometimes we focus so much on the clearing or what we need to let go of versus really focusing on what do we want to bring in now. And like it is a balance, right? Of finding, okay, yes, I need to let go of these things so that more of what I want can come in, but also getting that clarity on what is it that I do want in order to be whole.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like it's just helping you to be more you and
Yeah.
helping you to be more assertive. So yeah, that's like even better right after you've removed the stuck energies because that could be a little confusing for you because you're not sure if those are your thoughts or feelings or, if you're feeling crummy because of you, if it came from within or outside. Yeah, it can still be difficult. But, a way to know over time is you can do a check-in frequently. Like just, hey, how am I doing physically? And then how am I doing mentally? Okay, let's switch to what am I feeling right now? At least one emotion. And then how am I feeling socially right now? What's going on there? So just checking in with each of yourselves. And
Mhm.
then you just have that baseline so that when you step into that wedding venue or wherever you are and it's a bit hectic, you'll know, well, this was my baseline. And then now I feel like this, which is that's not what I was feeling a second ago. So
Mhm.
maybe doing that check-in before you head out somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like as you were saying that, it's to me, it's just being playful about it and not being overly serious or getting curious, I guess, about, well, what do I feel right now? Or like I know I've done the meditations where it's like trying to feel where that stuck energy is in your body and doing a body scan and kind of recognizing, like for me, I know that I hold a lot of it in my shoulders or like that tension.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of recognizing that as well of, okay, I know that I tend to do these things, or where is that connection in my body and getting back into your body and out of your head. That's been huge for me too.
Definitely, yeah. I'm a fan of the body scan. And you can also tense up everything all at once if you don't want to scan through each part of your body. You could just do it all at once. You could hold on to it for a few breaths, then exhale, and then notice the difference. And you could do it a couple of times.
Hmm. Yeah, and breath work is huge. I never did a ton of breath work, and I've done a couple breath work workshops and classes over the past like year or two, and they make a massive difference. There is such a release and coming back that it's truly like your life. It truly is your life force, of being able to just kind of reset and come back to that. And that's a tool that's free that we always have, right? We can always come back.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it has become really trendy. I mean, back when I was in Toronto, that was my sense of it, right? But it's always with you. It's the first thing that you can work with to release and to receive healing energies. And I don't think you need to pay too much, you don't need to go to a breathwork session. You just need to slow down your breath. Just notice your breath, just slow it down. And I think that's the biggest thing in helping you to regulate your nervous system, to
Yeah.
just breathe 5-second breaths or longer when you get to that point. I know it's hard for a lot of people to even breathe 3-second breaths. So you have to start where you're at and just slowly lengthen the breath over time in a way that makes you feel safe.
Yeah, I love that. And I love to like for me, I know that my mind goes a million miles a minute and I hear that from a lot of women too. So for me, meditation was hard at first. It still can be hard, but to just kind of like you said, accept yourself where you're at and kind of acknowledge, okay, this is where I'm at today and this is my capacity, or even changing up the routine. Like some certain times of the month when I'm in like my follicular phase or I'm in a time where I know that I can knock things out and I'm like my hormones are on the up and I've got high energy. I'll do something that's more movement meditative where it's like a meditating walk, or I'll do like journaling first to kind of brain dump everything that's in my head and get it out on paper. So just
Mm-hmm.
checking in with yourself and having a toolbox. Do you have so many different modalities that you kind of blend together? Are you a fan of kind of having like a toolbox ready and kind of cycling through depending on what
Yeah,
you're of? Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And like you said, just paying attention to my cycles of high and low energy and just my needs for rest or my needs for movement. And not seeing meditation as this, monolithic one way of being. There's no right way. And you don't even need to meditate for that much. I mean, like we have things to do, we have bills to pay and, goals to chase, right? So, it can just be a couple of minutes of slow breathing, maybe a bit of counting breath, whatever you like. And it could be, a bit of movement meditation. It could just be a meditative tennis session, it just depends on what your needs are, what you love, and what helps you to focus
Yeah.
with attention to your breath.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's with the intention too. I had a conversation yesterday where I was talking about the intention of just even in our daily tasks that we're doing, where like I cleanse the energy and I now visualize it as I'm washing my face every morning. And then I cleanse the energy from the day before I go to bed, just like washing my face, where it's not anything crazy. I wash my face every day. Most people probably wash their face a couple of times a day. So just like having that intention to check in with yourself and put some intention behind it, it makes such a
Yes,
difference of just kind of,
it does.
yeah.
I do the same thing. Yeah. And then like any waterfall. So yes, even when it's the faucet waterfall, I'll definitely ask for blessings and use my intention and in the washing, but also the shower. It's just amazing when you have that shower head and you're just imagining that waterfall just balancing your chakras. And you can imagine it's a rainbow light, a pink light, whatever you want. It can be flames and just go to town and see what emerges. You could have a lot of fun. You could do
Yeah.
like you could do silver light and golden light to represent divine feminine and divine masculine. Just imagine the ribbons dancing with each other and just helping you to strengthen, to release, to recalibrate, and to receive.
I love that so much. And you mentioned divine masculine and feminine too, and that being a big part of your journey and kind of where you're at
Oh,
right now.
yeah.
I'd love to hear more
Yeah,
and like
definitely.
how you're finding the balance between the two.
For sure. So, in Toronto, I was just so blessed, especially in the last few years, to get to teach at a special needs school and other things around that, and all the yoga stuff, all those opportunities, and to do energy healing in corporate environments and in public and in these fancy studios. Super grateful. But it was very go, 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 like living in any big city, kind of. It's very divine masculine, right? If you're just kind of working, going from point A to point B, you have purpose, right? And you have direction, which is great. And you're getting things done, you're accomplishing things. But that's all divine masculine. Divine feminine's more, let's be, let's receive, let's nurture, let's connect, let's magnetize. And and I was always trying to nurture it, but it's really there's nothing like, being somewhere that feels so deeply restful. I really love nature. So being in Vietnam, I just felt so nurtured by the breeze, the constant cool breeze, and the palm trees, and the crystalline sand, and the beautiful crystal waters, and the mountains in the distance. All of that, all of those elements really helped me to lean more into the divine feminine. And in this space, I just felt more activations, more releasing. My parents are from Vietnam, they're from Saigon. So I felt like I was just connecting more deeply to Buddha and Kuan Yin. I connect to a lot of ascended masters. Like I'm not religious. I used to be, but I'm more spiritual now. And so I like to connect to different ascended masters like Krishna and Lakshmi. And it's not just Jesus. I connect a lot to Jesus too, and Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. But anyway, here in Vietnam, I got to reconnect with Kuan Yin, who, when I grew up as a child, she was always on the highest altar in my home. It's a Vietnamese Buddhist thing, to have Lady Buddha there on the highest altar, taking care of the family. And so she's here overlooking Da Nang, overlooking the beach. She's just there in the mountains, and Buddha's always around too. There's so many statues of them. It's like that in Thailand. It's like that in Vietnam. It's just amazing for people who are into it. And yeah, so I felt so held by these divine forces and by the dragons as well. So I've been kind of connecting with the dragons. I know it's like a big thing just in Asia in general, in China, but like I just didn't expect it to be such a powerful presence in Da Nang. Like there's a dragon bridge, and I've been seeing dragons in the clouds, and like I found a dragon ornament and a Buddha frame. Anyway, those little things, but it's just been amazing. So I've been experiencing more elemental healing from the dragons. It's been awesome. But anyway, back to divine feminine and divine masculine. It's allowed me to integrate both. Because you know what, when you're from a city, it's just it can really you can really fall into the divine masculine. And what I'm seeing from a lot of coaches is a sense of extremes. It's just like female coaches and male coaches too are saying things like, yeah, like it's all about the divine feminine, but they're not thinking, let's integrate because you know what, like divine feminine has to do with the right brain, right? So it has to do with integrative thinking, symbolic thinking, abstract thinking, intuition, emotions, imagination. That's all right brain, and that's divine feminine. We have to use it. We can't ignore it. Men as well. And then the left brain is logic, analysis, linear thinking, structured thinking, stepwise thinking, and language, whereas right brain is visual, spatial. But anyway, that's left brain. That has to do with Western society or just like the work, the work realm, the public realm, and your thinking and action. So you can't just focus on one side of the brain. It's you're ignoring a whole 50% of yourself. It's really like to be a whole person, right? And to do your best in life, it really would help to use both sides of your brain, which means integrating both divine masculine and divine feminine. Do you know what I mean by
Yeah.
those coaches who are all about, magnetize, the man pays for everything, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I have hands, I have a brain, I can make money too, and I have ambitions. It's all about like, I'm going to let my man lead. I'm not going to lead. I'm looking for a man so he can lead. It's just like, sure, like, yeah, but I want to lead too. And he should let me lead him too. Like, let's lead each other. Let's, lead and follow because, I'm able to make money and
Yeah.
I have big dreams. I have big goals too. Am I going to sit back and like be like a 50s housewife? No. But a lot of these coaches are saying, yeah, do that. you know?
Yeah. I do think that it is very extreme. And I think it's because we come from an extreme society too, of just having like the 9 to 5 schedule. When I learned cycle syncing, it opened me up to the whole idea of divine masculine and feminine. And for me, it's been it is a dance, like you're talking about, where it's like you lead him, he leads you, but it's like that time, there's a time for receiving and there's a time for action. So even if you look at it from a cyclical perspective as a woman, I see it as like, the menstrual phase, that's a time where that's your inner winter and you're meant to be receiving and relaxing
Mm-hmm.
and resting and nourishing and nurturing and all of those things. And also your left brain and your right brain can talk to each other a lot better at that time because your hormones aren't super spiked, which a lot of people don't
Mm-hmm.
know, which I think is a fact. But allowing yourself to check in with your body, going back to that so that you can receive during that time. And then it's like when you hit your spring and summer, that's when you should be leaning a little bit more into the divine masculine of like, okay, this is the time to do and to act and to set those goals into motion and to do those things. And as women, I think a lot of times we're in one or the other, where we're
Mm-hmm.
constantly going and doing, and we're not allowing ourselves to be, but allowing yourself to have that balance and live in the duality and have that dance. And then from a business perspective too, you need the masculine side of things where it's that structure and it's the
For
banks of the
sure.
river. Your divine feminine can flow and be creative. So have you
Right.
seen two and how do you integrate maybe those two worlds into your business and how you have the structure and the flow?
I think having routine in my work week really helps, like even just waking up, the splashing of our face as we talked about, like morning affirmations, things like that. And, having the coffee, whatever it is, right? That helps you to start your day on a positive note. I love to have gratitude in the morning. I like to open and close in a similar way.
Yeah.
So there's the gratitude in the morning, there's the wishes. There's the same thing at night as I go to bed. And then yeah, I might teach some students online. It really depends. I might give some energy healing sessions or work on my website, whatever it is. There's a sense of flow, but the structure helps too. Like just understanding like this is when I do this, this is when I do that task. But at the beginning, it might not, the structure might not be there yet, right? You kind of have to get your feet wet and maybe, like for me personally, I have to flow a bit and kind of dance in energies with the other entity first and just see, do I want to continue, right? Do I want to continue this dance? And then at some point, yes, divine masculine comes in and there is structure. I really don't like starting out with the structure, but I recognize that it's important too. So it is what it is. It's just not a preference. I'd rather kind of, I think it's because like I'm a little sensitive to things not working out. So I just want to see that it's going to work out first. So
Yeah.
yeah, so having the structure there, the routine, and if it's something I've been flowing with, an idea, for example, maybe at some point turning it into a method, um, or just adding structure to it, continuing to build, like just building something that lasts, something
Yeah.
sustainable. So in my energy healing, for example, I might be experimenting with the flames, or the roses or the dragons, right? And at first I'm just kind of seeing what I'm drawn to and who wants to come in. And then after a couple of weeks, when I've been doing it for a while and with different kinds of people, I will probably develop a method, or I'll just focus on like the elemental dragons for one type of session. So I do think the divine masculine is so special in providing that structure, um, the containment, the
Yeah.
focus, the direction. And if I didn't have it, I would just always be kind of at the mercy of my own whims, other people's whims, impulses, and just not able to have a center, not able to have grounding.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that is something that I have found too. And I like the way that you said that you don't necessarily lead with the structure. It's like that comes once you have the vision, because I think that once you have your vision and you have that creative moment and kind of a moment to also receive from the divine too, that's been something that's come up for me too, of like we have to slow down enough to where we can get that intuitive knowing, if you will, of okay, this is the direction that I want to go, or this is my compass, this is my why, this is my big vision that I have. And then once you get clear on that vision, I have found that the structure kind of comes into play where the divine masculine comes up and it's like, okay, here's these pieces that you need. This is how you implement this either in your life or your business to give yourself some structure or that next aligned step. But I do totally think it's that dance of, yes, I allowed myself to receive and I had that intuitive moment, but now here's that next aligned action. It's not just waiting around of like, okay, I have my vision and it's going to happen now. It's using your gifts because we're here all here for that unique purpose to kind of integrate those and bring those together to bring them to life.
Yeah, and it's such an act of self-care, self-love too. It's like being your own mother and father to just like, hey, let's contain this. Let's see, can we add some structure? Can we analyze this? Look at these parts, what's working, what's not working, like after something really beautiful has come in. So, yeah, I kind of see it that way. Like, let's just love yourself. Like, don't betray yourself by not adding the divine masculine elements in.
Yeah.
Don't get too extreme with going with the flow and being spontaneous. Like, I know you're having a great time, but it's like, don't you want to move forward with a bit of focus, a bit of direction, a bit of containment, a bit of
Yeah,
safety and protection? Like, I'm
exactly.
here to protect you, like to be your own divine father.
Right. Yeah, and we need both, we need all of that. And in order to, I think, fully fulfill our soul's purpose or our life purpose that we're here for on that soul's journey, it's like learning to find the balance between those two things because it is, one leads at one point and then the other leads, and it's kind of that back and forth motion, especially as women where we're going in that cycle and we're kind of checking in with ourselves because we're not always going to be able to be constantly pushing. We need to stop and be in order to be
Yes.
yeah, what that
Yeah.
next.
And we need that so much. Like, yeah, so that's the other side of it. It's just like we're not uh, loving ourselves enough to give us that rest, or just to be kind, just to be soft and nurturing with ourselves and with others. Like, can you look at yourself with soft eyes? Can you look at others with soft eyes?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
love that. And
it's
that brings
tough.
me it is very hard, but you were talking about self-care and self-love, and that's something for me where I kind of always was like, okay, yep, I checked that box. Like I did my routine this morning, I worked out, I'm doing like all of these things.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting with my functional doctor and him being like, okay, well, what are you doing for self-care? And I was like, well, I went to the chiropractor and I did my workout and I did this. And he's like, okay, that's great, but you're just keeping yourself alive. Those are not actual like nourishing self-care things.
Yeah, he sounds awesome. He
He's
sounds like a therapist.
Oh, he was totally. He did the life coaching, he did the functional medicine. It was
Oh, that's so cool.
did some business stuff with me. It was so
Oh,
before
wow.
this, I didn't have my business in the way that it exists today before I went on that functional medicine journey because I went through the adrenal fatigue and then I was like so
Yeah,
inspired by the journey that I went on and understanding what pieces like were coming together and I was really frustrated of like why are women not taught this? Why are we not taught we have a cycle? And why are we not taught the
it's
energetics of
true.
things? And so that was where I was like I wanted to understand number one what was happening to me so that I could understand and help myself heal and not get myself in that position again. But I also
Hmm.
wanted to share that with other women because I was like, back to the point where it's talking about self-care, I'm checking a box and we're just doing it as like, okay, yep, I checked that box, I did this, I did that, but we're not taking time to understand what do I actually need or who am I on that deep level to really check in with yourself to know what direction that is. So I'm grateful that my mess turned into my message in that respect of like, okay, I went through that journey and I'm able to implement that now in a way to help other women so that they don't have to make the mistakes that I did of burning myself out and they can understand the energetics and all of that. But
Yeah.
that inspired like story, and I think that we all have to kind of pull from that at some point. So with all of the different things that you've done on your journey, are there any things that stand out to you that have kind of led you in this direction? I know you said you went from like more religious to more spiritual, and you have like so many amazing modalities that you pulled together. I'd love to hear if there's any moments in particular that stand out. I guess I always like to ask people, what is your point of impact moment that kind of
Yeah.
helped you into the place that you're at now?
Wow. I guess it was 3 weeks after I got my puppy Bodhi. He's like over here. Oh,
So
it's a
cute.
blur. He's a lab. He's a lab. But he's just a huge 3-year-old lab. So yeah, it was 3 weeks after I got him. He was 11 weeks old. I had just come back from a trip to British Columbia. It was stunning. And I was starting to do things really for me, and I was really feeling that sense of aliveness again after just coming back online from Free State. And I had that beautiful trip. Then I came back and I became a dog mom for the first time. And then everyone around me was just melting at the sight of Bodhi. And these were difficult people going through a lot too in Toronto. You could tell because a lot of them couldn't even look at me. Like they still kind of hated humanity, right? The way I did actually, because of our experiences. We were all just struggling to socialize with each other when we were out and about. But they just loved Bodhi. They melted. And yeah, their face would just they would just have this like beaming grin, and their eyes would sparkle. And they often still didn't look at me. That's fine. But like after an amount of time, some of them did start socializing with me. And anyway, being around all this energy, all this joy and bliss and delight and awe and innocence, he brought out the child in them. And many of them already had dogs. They were just still like, wow. It really kind of turned something in me, and I started giving humanity a chance. I know it sounds extreme, but I had just been through a lot of stuff to make me conclude that I couldn't trust people anymore, and that was just me at the time. And I had decided that in my early 20s that I would not trust people anymore and I would turn to God. So that kind of started that journey. But this was a few years ago and I realized, oh my gosh, people are so lovely. Because I was still getting racist stuff, like, because I go out a lot. Like in Toronto, I went out a lot. I was always like on the streets, I was always on the streetcars, I was always by the waterfront, out and about. Because I lived in the city. Like I wasn't like hidden away in a car. So I got like all types of interactions, including a lot of racist ones too. And it would happen every few weeks. And like not just racist ones, but just general ugly ones. It wasn't always about racism whenever it
Mhm.
happened, but the frequency was enough that it was like once every 5 to 6 weeks that it still kept me hating humanity. But anyway, Bodhi changed it all. And then, something turned and I was like, oh my gosh, people are so adorable. Wow, like people are like pretty awesome, like socially. And so that just kind of started everything. I soon, like 3 weeks later after getting Bodhi, I saw this Buddha in the sky, like just a bald man seated in meditation in the clouds. I was just on the elliptical, looking out through the window, looking out at the clouds. And when I focused on that Buddha in the sky, and it was colored, it was colored like orange and pink, and everything else was like dull gray around it, like the way an overcast sky can be. It started flashing when I focused on it. And then my body started feeling electrical jolts of energy at the same time that the cloud was flashing. So I'm just like on the elliptical going like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And it was like at least 9 times. I didn't really count, but it was just so much.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was just so cool. So that was just the beginning. There were more things after that, lots of messages from nature. Um, and just I studied expressive arts therapy later that summer. I started grad school at Lesley University in Cambridge for clinical mental health counseling and expressive arts therapy. So I started the expressive arts therapy component, and I felt so many magical shivers and a lot of artsy, expressive things that would just come through out of nowhere through my just individual work and group work. Like I saw a whale in the clouds as my plane was taking off toward from Toronto to Cambridge. And then, yeah, the whale showed up again when I was just doodling with the watercolors during a power, privilege, and oppression class. And the whale has shown up again and again recently. So it's just interesting the divine timing, the divine orchestration, all these messages. So that kind of, so Bodhi, getting my puppy and just kind of turning something in me, opening me up to loving humanity again,
Mhm.
helped me to catapult my and deepen my spiritual experiences. And those clairs really came online around that time, if that makes sense. Like I was already on the spiritual path, but I was still, full of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's fair. And I love that he was like your mirror and the permission slip almost to be playful again and to have that inspired connection. And it's also, I feel like sometimes I have four dogs myself.
Oh,
And I had two of them for the longest time. And then this little guy showed up at my house, this little beagle. He's like
out
10
of
years.
nowhere. Wow.
Yeah, he was like, I came home one day, he was in the yard, it was about to storm, so I brought him in, and now he's been with me a year. And then I have a foster
Wow.
dog that's staying with me right now. But sometimes, I get in the mode where I'm like, oh, I have to keep doing these things. I have to be productive. I have to do XYZ for my business. And they really
Hmm.
are a permission slip or a reminder to us and a mirror to just be present and be in the moment and to feel that. So I love that he
And to
opened
spread it, to spread joy, and
that because they
wonder. And it's still happening. It's been happening since I got him. It's been happening nonstop, and it continues to happen in Vietnam. It's really special because a lot of the people here have experience with dogs who are just not really trained,
are.
and dogs who might, and they're little dogs. They might bark a lot, and so a lot of people are scared, but they still are so enamored with Bodhi that they draw near and they
Yeah.
want to interact, they want to touch. And some of them, like even today, this woman was like, "Oh, he healed my fear of dogs," and she just walked off after our conversation.
I love that.
It's just amazing.
They are absolutely healers. Like I love just their energy around you and having that. It brings so much joy. I've always been a dog person. I've always been an animal person, but to me they are just so magical and they are so healing. So I love that he's a part of your journey and he's kind of like your point of impact. And I love that you brought him to Vietnam too, because I know a lot of people would be like, well, it's an overseas thing. And, and like I've seen people that just crushes me when they don't take their pets because I'm like, they're our family. Like they're so magical. You can't just leave them.
For sure, for sure. I did have two cats and I had to leave them behind and it just would have been difficult to bring all
Yeah.
three. And I think it would have been especially traumatizing to have the cats on that flight.
Yes.
Um, just different needs, and they're in a
Absolutely.
mansion now. It's okay. They're in a mansion. There's a vet that visits them. They get to explore and have adventures and be well fed with fancy food. I think they're fine.
They are
But
great.
that was rough to have to release them.
Yeah, it always is hard. But it's what's best for them too and what's best for you in the moment. So taking the time to consider that is amazing. And yeah, and the fact that Bodhi is still a part of your journey and I feel like he's probably like somehow connected soul-wise to you of that
Totally.
moment and
Well,
him
he
just
chose me. Well, just
yeah.
like the beagle chose you, right? And your dogs chose you. Like he just gazed at me for 10 seconds, unlike all the other puppies. And he licked me for 10 seconds, unlike the other puppies. So it was meant to be.
Yes, absolutely. They totally absolutely can pick you 100% of the time. Dogs are just they're the best.
They really are.
I love that. Well, this has been, I can like continue going down so many different rabbit holes, but I don't want to keep you all day. I would love to, for you to just share with everybody that we're on here, how can they work with you? How can they connect with you? Do you have like a website, social media?
Sure.
What are your, how can people find you?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm here to chat with if you want to learn how to do things yourself, if you want to be a self-healer. I'm here. You can reach out to me on Instagram at breathe.move.express.heal. I also have another account, catherinevincent.healing. So either of those, I'm on Threads, same thing. I post the same things to Facebook. Some people don't like Instagram. I get it. You can find me on Facebook. And then there's my email, catherinevincent1211@gmail.com if you don't want to do any of the socials. Totally understood. And my website is catherine-vincent.com. And you can check out my services there. So yeah, I'm here for you. Like I don't want to gatekeep anything I learned. So it is my plan to, and I have been sharing tidbits with everyone, but I will continue sharing. And if you have questions, ask them and maybe I'll create some content around it.
I love that. And I love that an idea of inspired co-creation. And then the idea as well as I have the same kind of concept where it's like, hey, just come ask me. I don't think I'm scary. If you want to have a conversation, I would love to talk about all of this stuff. And it's really about bringing them back to sovereignty of being that
Yeah.
self-healer and being a mirror and having this space where
Yeah.
women can and people in general can just come back to themselves in the most authentic way. So I love that.
Thank you. I love what you're doing as well. I can't wait to just stay posted on what you get up to, and I'm really glad we connected.
Yes, me too. I'm so excited that we connected. I love everything that you're doing. So absolutely gonna stay connected and keep following, keep the conversation going, keep the energy going.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Thank you for being here. And we will chat soon.
Talk to you soon.